It was 6 a.m. at Sunrise Groceries, Akita's most beloved and only 24-hour supermarket that opened its doors at 7 sharp. While most of the staff shuffled in half awake, clutching coffee mugs, Jim, the janitor, was already wide-eyed, equipped with his mop and a mission. "Time to bear-proof the entrance," he announced with the seriousness of a general preparing for battle. "Jim, it's too early for your bear patrol nonsense," groaned Lisa, the cashier, barely holding her yawn. Jim wasn't fazed. With a flourish, he rolled out what he lovingly called the Anti-Bear Protocol, a duct-taped collection of rules plastered on the staff notice board. Step 1. Check the perimeter for paw prints. Step 2. Fortify the doors. Step 3. Never leave salmon-scented goods unattended. "I'm telling you," he said, waving his mop like a sword, "bears are everywhere. 1 second you're arranging lettuce, the next, bam, bear attack." "Yeah, because lettuce is what bears crave," Lisa muttered, rolling her eyes. The staff chuckled, but Jim stood firm. "We live in Akita, bear country. Anything's possible." He pointed at a blurry photo of a bear he claimed to have taken last summer. It was suspiciously cropped to exclude the mascot costume legs visible at the bottom. The manager, Mr. Tanaka, entered, clearly accustomed to the spectacle. "Jim, no one has seen a bear near this supermarket in years." "That's what they want you to think," Jim replied, narrowing his eyes. Despite their skepticism, Jim took his job seriously. He strategically stacked shopping carts against the automatic doors to create a psychological barrier, wiped down the exterior with his homemade bear deterrent cleaner, vinegar and garlic, and scattered chili powder near the trash bins. "Does this even work?" asked Hiro, a young employee new to the morning shift. "It hasn't failed yet," Jim said smugly. As the clock ticked toward opening, the other employees busied themselves with mundane tasks. Lisa restocked the candy aisle, Hiro organized the yogurt section, but Jim remained on high alert, patrolling the store like a mall cop in an action movie. Unbeknownst to everyone, a furry shadow lurked at the edge of the parking lot, sniffing the air. It wasn't just paranoia this time. "Bear-proofing," Jim muttered to himself as he adjusted a wobbly sign. "It's a thankless job, but someone's got to do it." Little did he know, today would prove him right in the most ridiculous way imaginable. The supermarket was buzzing with its usual pre-opening chaos. Lisa restocked gum at the checkout, humming along to a cheesy pop song on the store radio. Hiro struggled to organize the yogurt aisle, wondering how there were so many flavors of plain. Meanwhile, Jim stood by the doors, mop in hand, scanning the parking lot with eagle-eyed determination. Suddenly, the automatic doors slid open with their signature whir. Everyone froze. A bear, an actual honest-to-goodness bear, waltzed into the supermarket like it owned the place. It wasn't just any bear. This one had a confident swagger and a gleam in its eye, as though it had been waiting for this moment its whole life. The employees stared, stunned. "Nice costume," Mr. Tanaka said with a laugh, clapping his hands. "What's this? A promotional gimmick? Who ordered the bear mascot?" The bear paused briefly, sniffed the air, and proceeded towards the storeroom. Its powerful stride knocked over a display of half-priced potato chips, sending them skittering across the floor. "Whoa, someone's committed to their role," Lisa said, chuckling nervously. Jim's face turned pale. "That's no mascot," he whispered. "That's a real bear." The realization hit the room like a thunderclap. The bear, unfazed by the human commotion, reached the canned goods aisle and gave an enthusiastic swipe at the nearest shelf. A tower of canned fish toppled to the ground with a deafening crash, scattering mackerel tins everywhere. Okay, Mr. Tanaka stammered, his confidence now a distant memory. "Everyone, stay calm. Bears can sense fear. Or maybe that's sharks. Anyway, don't panic." Lisa ducked behind the counter, whispering furiously, "Why is this happening? It's too early for this nonsense." Meanwhile, Jim stepped forward, his mop raised like a knight's lance. "I told you this day would come. Akita is bear country." The bear, now thoroughly enjoying its unplanned shopping spree, turned toward the bakery section. Hiro, who had been frozen like a statue, finally found his voice. "Shouldn't we, call someone?" "Yes! The police, animal control, a bear whisperer. Anyone! Lisa shouted from her hiding spot. Jim, however, had other ideas. No time! I'll handle this, he declared, advancing slowly, mop at the ready. Jim, no! Mr. Tanaka cried. This is not the time to play Bear Grylls. The bear, seemingly unimpressed, snatched a baguette from the bakery display and trotted toward the deli counter. It knocked over a basket of oranges for good measure, leaving behind a trail of chaos and crushed fruit. As Jim inched closer, gripping his mop tighter, the bear locked eyes with him. For a moment, man and beast stood still, each assessing the other. Okay, Jim whispered to himself. This might have been a bad idea. The bear snorted as if agreeing before swiping a tray of sushi samples and retreating toward the frozen food section. Chaos erupted again as employees scrambled for safety, leaving Jim to face his destiny, or maybe just reconsider his life choices. Little did they know, this was only the beginning of a very long morning. The scene inside Sunrise Groceries was nothing short of pandemonium. Jim stood at the front lines, mop gripped tightly, while the bear sauntered towards the deli counter with the calm confidence of a VIP customer. Jim, this is crazy! Let the professionals handle it! Lisa yelled from behind the checkout counter, where she had constructed a makeshift fort out of candy boxes. There's no time for waiting, Jim bellowed heroically, raising his mop. The bear is eyeing the smoked salmon. If it gets a taste, it's game over. The bear, seemingly offended by Jim's audacity, paused its advance to sniff a sushi tray on a nearby shelf. Step 1. Create a diversion, Jim muttered to himself, channeling every action movie he'd ever seen. Spotting the slippery floor sign near the freezer aisle, he hatched a plan. With one swift motion, he flung a bucket of soapy water across the tiles. The bear took one cautious step forward. Squeak. Its paw slid comically on the wet surface, and for a moment it looked less like a fearsome predator and more like a clumsy toddler learning to walk. The staff watched in stunned silence as the bear flailed and skidded, landing on its furry rump with an indignant snort. It's working! Jim cheered, only for his celebration to be cut short as the bear regained its footing, eyes now fixed on the deli counter. Plan B! Jim shouted. We need bait! Bait? What do you mean, bait? Hiro whimpered from behind a tower of yogurt. Jim pointed dramatically at a dusty box in the corner labeled Emergency Mascot Costume. Minutes later, a very reluctant Hiro shuffled out of the storeroom dressed as a giant, glittery salmon. The costume's oversized eyes wobbled with every step, and its tail dragged awkwardly behind him. This is humiliating, Hiro mumbled. Focus, Jim commanded. You're the distraction. Lead the bear towards the bakery where the bread will slow it down. Why me? Hiro protested. Because you're the salmon, Jim snapped, as if that explained everything. With a deep sigh, Hiro took a cautious step forward, waving one fin half-heartedly. Here, bear, nice bear, look at the shiny salmon. The bear turned its head, intrigued. Good, good, Jim whispered, edging closer with his mop raised. But just as Hiro started to back away, the bear lunged, not for him, but for the sushi tray on a nearby shelf. In the chaos, the tray flipped into the air, sending sushi rolls flying like confetti. A particularly well-aimed piece of tuna landed squarely on Jim's forehead. Stay focused, team, Jim shouted, wiping the tuna from his face. It's just sushi. The bear, now thoroughly enjoying its chaotic breakfast, pawed at the slippery floor again, sending another wave of canned goods crashing to the ground. This is a disaster, Lisa shrieked from her candy fortress. No, Jim said, standing tall despite the soy sauce dripping from his hair. This is what we trained for. Somehow, despite the mayhem, Jim's determination burned brighter than ever. The bear was far from subdued, but the battle was far from over. It was time to escalate the operation, and Jim had one last trick up his sleeve. The bear was now the unofficial king of Sunrise Groceries, sauntering through the aisles as if it had a VIP shopping pass. Meanwhile, the staff, armed with everything from kitchen utensils to grocery baskets, assembled near the produce section like a mismatched team of superheroes. We need a plan, Jim whispered dramatically, his mop resting on his shoulder like a knight's lance. This was your plan, Lisa snapped, still clutching a frying pan. Phase 2, then, Jim declared. We corral the bear toward the exit. What's Phase 3? Hero asked, still wearing his glittery salmon costume. There is no Phase 3, Jim admitted. As they crept forward, the bear meandered into the meat section. It paused, sniffing the air, and zeroed in on a tray of Wagyu beef samples that had been carelessly left unattended. No! Mr. Tanaka yelled, horrified. That's premium grade. Do you know how expensive that is? The bear clearly didn't care. With one massive paw, it swiped the entire tray to the floor and began devouring the samples with gusto. Outside, a small crowd of early morning customers had gathered, their faces pressed against the glass doors. Is this a Black Friday preview? One man joked, recording the chaos on his phone. Looks like the bear's going for the doorbuster deals, a woman chimed in, laughing. Back inside, things were unraveling quickly. Jim's attempts to herd the bear by waving his mop only made it more curious. The bear glanced at him, head tilted, before returning to its Wagyu feast. Okay, Plan B, Jim shouted. This was Plan B, Hero pointed out. Plan C, then. The team hastily improvised. Lisa banged on a metal mixing bowl, Hero waved his salmon tail, and Mr. Tanaka hurled oranges like grenades. The bear paused briefly, clearly entertained, before swatting a pineapple across the aisle like a volleyball. It's not working, Lisa yelled, dodging a rogue pineapple. The bear, now wandering toward the frozen food section, seemed completely unfazed. It sniffed at a stack of ice cream tubs before overturning them, causing a small avalanche of melting vanilla. This isn't a buffet, Mr. Tanaka wailed, holding his head. It's a disaster. Outside, the crowd cheered as the bear claimed yet another snack. One man was live-streaming the scene, his caption reading, Live from Akita, grocery store bear-tastrophe. Guys, Jim said, his tone unusually serious, I think I know how to stop it. The team turned to him, hopeful. I need the honey buns. The honey buns? Lisa exclaimed. Yes, Jim said, his eyes narrowing. The ones from the bakery. They're the ultimate bait. It was a ridiculous plan, but at this point, it was their only hope. Armed with a tray of honey buns, Jim took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to put it all on the line. Would the bear take the bait, or would Sunrise Groceries be left in ruin? Only time would tell. As the bear continued its leisurely tour of Sunrise Groceries, now eyeing the honey buns Jim held like an offering to the gods, the blaring sound of sirens echoed outside. The cavalry's here, Lisa shouted, peeking from her candy fortress. A team of local police officers, led by the calm and seasoned Officer Sato, entered the store with tranquilizers and nets. All right, everyone stay calm, Officer Sato said in a voice so soothing it could lull a bear to sleep. We've got this under control. Jim, however, wasn't ready to relinquish his starring role. Wait, he cried, holding up a honey bun as if it were the Holy Grail. I've got a plan. The officers exchanged skeptical glances. It's already been eating premium Wagyu and sushi, Mr. Tanaka muttered. What's a honey bun going to do? But Jim was undeterred. He placed the honey buns on the floor in a careful trail, leading toward the exit. The bear sniffed the air, clearly intrigued. Trust me, Jim whispered, though no one was sure if he was talking to the bear or himself. As the bear lumbered toward the first honey bun, Officer Sato nodded to his team. Cue the soft jazz. Lisa, scrambling to the store's PA system, turned on the only jazz playlist available, a mix of smooth saxophone hits that immediately changed the store's ambiance from chaotic to oddly serene. The bear paused, a honey bun halfway to its mouth, as if considering the soothing notes of autumn leaves. It looked almost contemplative. Is it grooving? Hero asked, still in his salmon costume. The bear devoured the honey buns one by one, each bite accompanied by a sway of its massive head to the music. By the time it reached the last bun near the exit, it seemed almost reluctant to leave. With precision timing, the officers sprang into action, gently ensnaring the bear in a massive net. The crowd outside erupted into applause with someone shouting, "That's the most polite bear capture I've ever seen." The bear, now nicknamed Teddy by the live-streaming onlookers, was safely loaded into a transport truck for relocation to a nearby wildlife reserve. As the dust settled, Jim stood in the center of the store, covered in soy sauce, and holding the last honey bun triumphantly. The staff and customers burst into cheers. "You're a hero, Jim," Lisa said, finally emerging from her hiding spot. "I told you, always bear-proof," Jim declared, wagging a finger. The video of the entire incident went viral, with headlines like "Jazz-loving bear takes grocery adventure" and "Janitor saves store with mop and honey buns." Sunrise Groceries even capitalized on the fame, releasing a limited edition bear-proof honey buns line that sold out instantly. As for Teddy, the bear found a new home in the wild, far from Wagyu beef and slippery supermarket floors. But rumor has it, if you listen closely in the Akita forests, you might hear the faint sound of jazz on the wind and the rustle of a bear dancing to its own groove. Jim, now a local celebrity, continued his daily bear-proofing ritual with renewed vigor. And while the rest of the staff might have rolled their eyes, they couldn't deny it. Jim had been right all along.